So looking at the success of the current big data analytics, multimodal data plays a very important part. We have been able to integrate a lot of these different kinds of data together to be able to derive. Say, for example, by studying functional data, we noted that the temperature of the Indian cities have risen significantly by about 2 degrees centigrade in most part of the country. And what is even more surprising is that the effect is far more pronounced on the hilly regions of the country. So the hilly regions of the country will see a much larger jump compared to the plainer regions of the country. And that is very important because in the hilly regions of our country, say for example in the Himalayas, if the temperature goes beyond the point, our rivers may dry up. So in the terms of having a sustainable future, it becomes extremely important that our perennial rivers remain perennial and doesn't become seasonal. So therefore, it becomes very important to analyze these multiple kinds of data together and try to figure out what is happening. One can also look at things like that we looked at was whether we can develop safety systems in transportation. So for example, is a driver driving bad, and can we really warn the driver before an accident happens or if an untoward incident happens? Now those kind of applications have been developed and one can use the data streams for that purpose. And there are umpteen examples now where we are being able to combine various kinds of data coming from sensors, satellite imagery, etc. together to take decisions. And that is something that we would be keen to see in the coming years. Now, when we're thinking of velocity and variety together, we get a lot more than if we just look at one of those characteristics. Now, say for example, this is just an example. So if you're thinking of managing a renewable energy integration in a municipal grid, these kind of things have already started to happen in India, particularly in the western part of our country. Now, if you are sort of getting your sensors start saying that there is a sudden drop in the solar power, and this actually happens a lot. Okay, so and it happens due to cloud cover. So if a cloud comes, you will see a solar power generation system suddenly drops by a significant amount. If that happens, one option would be to bring in the backup. Okay, so you run say a natural gas backup or a diesel backup, and that may be very, very costly and carbon intensive. Instead, if you are able to combine data from multiple sources, we say satellite imagery or weather forecasts, you may be able to figure out that this is not likely to be a long-drawn event. It's likely to be a short event, maybe a few minutes. Then you may be able to decide that don't bring up those natural gas generation generators, but rather rely on our storage and reduce the cost. So that is something that you will be able to get if you are using multimodal data instead of data which is of a single kind. Now, another thing that we must be looking at is the accuracy of the data. Now, accuracy of the data is referred to as veracity. Now, there can be errors of various kinds. Say, for example, and we are taking the non-human element here, is that there are sensors that we put in smart systems. They themselves may have an error margin. So almost all equipments have an error margin, and all sensors will also have an error margin. If we ignore those error margin, or if we allow multiple sensors to work so that the error margin explodes, then that can be a major problem. Okay, so therefore you need to quantify the uncertainty. We have to ensure that we get good data so that the errors of the data doesn't get amplified and we are able to get good insights. Good insights is important rather than just getting insights. You can get some insights, but if there is a bad data, you will get poor insights. And this has been known for a long time. We used to call it GIGO in the past. It's garbage in, garbage out. So if the data is garbage, whatever decision that you take would also be highly erroneous. Now, for a sustainability conference like this, which focuses on sustainability, I think triple bottom line is a very important idea. And we are not only talking about the farm itself, but we are also looking at the planet and the people. So whether the farm's action is adversely impacting the environment, is it adversely impacting the people? Those are also as important as the traditional view of the farm as a profit maximizing entity. Okay, so the classical view of the farm is that it generates additional value for its stakeholders, which is good. Profit is not a bad thing, but it should not do that by sacrificing the future of the planet or the future of the people. So therefore, any such farm in today's environment must focus on uh, doing things right, not only for themselves to enhance their financial capabilities and generate value to their shareholders or stakeholders, but also have a positive impact, or at least not a negative impact on the environment and the people. So, as you go ahead and become professionals in your own field, those of you who are studying business or studying allied fields, it will be very important for you to make this trade-off transparent. That what are you doing? What are you sacrificing? And are you sort of badly impacting the environment? What has been seen, and a lot of literature over the last 15 years uh, have been collected, is and now reliable evidence is available, is that increasingly people across the world are choosing products which are environmentally friendly, even if they are a little costly. So therefore, the green movement, which started maybe 3 decades back, has started to have its impact. So we are seeing a lot of people by consciously choosing elements or products or services which are more environmentally friendly over competitors uh, which may be less costly but have a larger environmental footprint. Now, whenever we are thinking of the future, one of the questions that all managers should ask is that why are we doing all this? Are we leaving money on the table? Are we not delivering adequate value uh, to the stakeholders? And as I said, the customer preferences are changing, but they should also ask some more questions. Say, for example, they should ask the, that what is the cost of inaction? That if I do nothing, what will I lose? What is likely to be the scenario in the future? And the other thing is that, that they can have a finger on what would be the benefit by changing course. If I take action X, what is the benefit that I am going to get? If I take action Y, what are the benefit I am going to get? Now, where is the analytics here? The analytics is very important in this context because you are talking of the long-term future. So if you are thinking of 2050 standing at 2026, no one in this world can tell what the world will look like in 2050. There is the AI movement that is happening is changing so many things that is practically impossible to tell what the world will look like in 2050. But should we then stop doing anything about it? Obviously not. So we have to get some idea of what will happen in the 2050. And there's an old methodology pioneered by Shell, is known as the scenario making technique. And this can be broadly called analytics. And the scenario building requires skill. And if you are interested, you can go to the YouTube and see some videos on Shell scenarios, where they are trying to look at the energy picture across the globe, maybe in a long-term future, 20, 30 years ahead. Now, if you are using these kind of tools, you may be able to see what the world will look like in 2050, at least have some guess, and then you can then decide what kind of action will be best for you, your organization, in the long run. So what are the key takeaways that we have in terms of having good decisions from complex data using advanced analytics? The first thing is that trust the process. Good decisions should be defensible, it should be rigorous, and you should not think that just the results matter, so not lucky results. You should synergize the data that you have. Uh, it is not only the volume that matters, but also the veracity, very important. Uh, Make use of the velocity as well as the multimodal nature of the data so that you can generate value out of it. Uh, Focus on the triple bottom line and not only deal with maximizing the profit, but also look at what you are leaving for the next generation. Our generation didn't do a very good job of it, so I hope that your generation will do a much better job of that. And finally, uh, use scenario analysis in a much bigger way to see what would be the best action, uh, what would be the cost of inaction before you commit the resources. So with this, I stop. Thank you very much.
Yes. So that was a wonderful presentation. And thank you very much for coming here. So one question is about sustainability. And as you rightly said, there's always a cost of action and inaction. But when it comes to sustainability, there's also poverty, hunger, these aspects. So how can we use smart systems or database decisions to improve these conditions? If you can just enlighten us.
So there have been some problems which have persisted for a long time, longer than we would have liked it to persist. Problems like poverty and hunger. Uh, and I remember a phase in 1980s when ISRO was launching the first satellites, and there was a lot of criticism about ISRO that when a large part of your population is suffering from these problems, is it worthwhile to spend resource on high-tech programs such as launching a satellite? But we have seen how much it has benefited. We can predict the, the path of the storm. We have been able to disseminate education across the country since 1980s when they first launched the countrywide classroom. So there have been a lot of benefits that have come out of usage of the technology. Similarly, today one of the major criticism of these large AI systems is the amount of power it is consuming. It is indeed a cause of concern, and we need to have systems which are much more frugal in terms of use of energy. But at the same time, you have to also see how much benefit these systems are giving to the people, the kind of access to knowledge these systems are giving. So I think this trade-off will continue, will remain, and I think as decision makers, we have to make the best.